So who is Messmer, Marika's firstborn son who you fight in the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC? Well, lock in, it's time for yet another lore masterclass by George R.R. Martin and Miyazaki. And thank you guys so much for the support on my last video. I really appreciate it. And by the way, 99.8% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you want to change that, much appreciated. So let's get into it. Messmer, quite a sad story we have to tell here. He was the firstborn son of Marika. And just like Melania and Mikola, he was born with an affliction, most likely due to the fact that he was born of a single god in Marika. You see, the outer gods don't like this, so they decided to curse him with an affliction such as the rot in Melania and eternal youth and incompleteness in Mikola. Now, Messmer was cursed with something slight, a snake growing from the inside of you, attempting to devour you from the inside out. Normal godly stuff. Marika is obviously appalled by this, and she tries her best to fix it. This is stated multiple times in the lore, and you can also see with the item in game, Marika's sword seal, it's literally one of Messmer's eyes. She attempted to seal this snake away by infusing a false eye with grace and putting it into Messmer, and as you can see, he only has one left in the boss fight when you eventually do fight him. You see, Marika was terrified that her son was going to be prosecuted, one, because of his general look, even though there is a snake inside of him, he also has just that sickly look about him, and two, with the fact that there's general disdain against cursed people, especially with one so visible as Messmer's was. So, Marika decided to hide him away in the shaman village at the top part of the DLC and live with him temporarily. She was so terrified about what could potentially happen to her son, whether it's the snake getting out or just the terrible things that he would witness being out in the world and all the discrimination that he would face. So they spent a lot of his early life in that village. Until, of course, something terrible happened to that village. And if you know about the Living Jar lore, I might make a video on it later, but you know what happened. If you don't, to give you a little TLDR, you know those jars that you kill in Shadow of the Erd Tree where this horrendous thing comes out of it? Yeah, that was the people of Marika's village. Both Marika and Messmer witnessed this atrocity be committed. This atrocity was committed by the people known as the Horn Scent, and obviously they could not stay in the Shadow Village any longer. So both Marika and Messmer picked up and decided to leave to Lindell, to where Marika would finally begin establishing her Golden Order. So, two revenge plots were put into place. One by Marika to go after the Horn Scent people and the fell god that potentially is the one to curse Messmer, and by Messmer, also against the Horn Scent people. But in the early days, while the Golden Order is being established, it's actually shown in Commander Gaius's remembrance that Messmer was like an older brother to Radahn. He was incorporated into this family now. And the Order was flourishing. During Marika's revenge path, he was able to kill the one-eyed shield, the fell god that the fire giants worshipped and the Horn Scent were afraid of. She hoped this would kill two birds with one stone. One, killing that god would cure Messmer's curse, and two, the Horn Scent were afraid of that god, so you take that one out, now they're afraid of you. This is shown with Messmer's orb in the saying that time and time again he hoped to rid himself of the flame, but ever did it burn. But while this was happening, Messmer's crusades also continued, and they started to get quite violent. Violent enough to where Messmer was beginning to be looked at differently by the upper echelons of the Golden Order. And it seems to me that with a combination of whatever it was Rykard was doing in Volcano Manor, combined now with Messmer's raiding party becoming more and more violent, this began to start an uprising in the Golden Order. And a snake, what Rykard became and what was infesting Messmer now became the worst nightmare of Marika becoming true. Because the snake became a symbol in the Golden Order of distrust and just traitorism. Marika's worst nightmare, what she tried so hard to work against, has now come true. And Messmer was forced to flee. He fled back to the Shadow Realms. Now, because of this, he lost most of his crusaders, most of which decided to stay loyal to the Golden Order besides Rinlana. But you see, Messmer never gave up on his mother. He saw throughout his whole life that all she wanted to do was make him better, find a cure. You can see this by the two tree sentinels stationed outside of the village. Both of them drop an antidote that Marika was working on to attempt to cure the snake. The sword seals, killing a god, all in attempts to try and rid him of that snake. Messmer loved his mother, and Messmer never stopped working either. And you can tell this by in the Shadow Keep, when you walk around towards the bottom of it, what do you see? A room full of those living jars. He is harboring them, trying to help them, because he knows who they were and he knows what they meant to his mother and him. And you can also tell this because the way to get into his mother and his first village that they lived in, it is now sealed. You have to be able to gesture in front of it just to even begin to get to it. Messmer never wanted to give up on his mother and wanted to do right by him as she tried to do right by her. Then the events before Elden Ring take place. The Elden Ring shatters. Marika basically goes insane with grief, and nobody in the Land of Shadows knows this is happening. They think it's some form of divine punishment from the Erd Tree itself. Messmer was alone, just hoping his mother would come back and hoping that he would be able to help her out. He had no idea of the events that took place and had no idea what happened to his mother, but he worried about her safety to be sure. And then us, the Tarnished, come into play. You see, the Tarnished walked in and he sees somebody who has at least gotten 2 great runes and is capable of becoming an Elden Lord. But to Messmer, we are without grace. We are not pure. We are not worthy of his mother. You can see this from the Fire Knight Qualeen Ash where it says, trying his hardest to keep the taint and impurity away from his fair mother, Marika. So we begin to fight Messmer. And as you know, once you progress to the second phase, what he does is he takes out his mother's last attempt to try and prevent this snake, this curse he was born with and afflicted him. In an attempt to protect her one last time, he breaks the final seal, releasing the snake. This is just a death wish from Messmer. He turns around, talks to the statue one last time, talking heart to heart with his mother, hoping that she hears him as he fully gives in to his curse, becoming that snake. Eventually, we beat Messmer, and you hear the anguish in his voice when he realizes what it is that he has done. The curse that his mother tried so hard to prevent, he now fully unleashed in one last attempt to save her, and he failed. Never getting to tell his mother how he felt, being locked away from her, and never knowing what happened to Marika. A very sad ending, I know, and if you guys watched through this video all the way, thank you so much. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. You guys have no idea how much it helps me. I love making these videos, and if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments down below.